That's insane. Something just hit.
The second one went towards the railway. There, it hit the railway, right by the bridge.
It's right there, just outside my window, you see. Footage after the strike is already online. It got hit pretty hard. The sound was so loud. Rosaviatia is once again forced to close the skies. The carpet plan in all its glory.
Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, and Zhukovsky airports are currently temporarily closed for safety reasons.
The ongoing and increasingly severe collapse of air travel infrastructure and operations is unfortunately becoming a deeply entrenched tradition for the nation, a recurring and problematic phenomenon that continues to escalate. Consequently, the overall situation at numerous airports across the country is progressively becoming more and more fraught with tension, anxiety, and operational difficulties, leading to a palpable sense of unease among travelers and staff alike. Furthermore, in this highly charged and deteriorating environment, a series of truly extraordinary, bizarre, and often unsettling incidents, which can only be described as genuinely crazy things, are consistently and conspicuously unfolding, adding to the chaos.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Chaos and unpredictability of the entire air travel landscape within Russia.
No information at all. We can't exchange our tickets. My tickets disappeared. I had tickets from Istanbul to Venice. 3 tickets. Now, for each ticket, they're asking me to pay an extra $980. It's the same thing, yes. It's the same thing. This is what's happening. There should at least be some information. I haven't seen him since 23:30. Everyone has tickets. Everyone is coming back. But in the end, there should be some respect. I have an Aeroflot Gold card for 23 years. I've been using your company. What is this? Anyway, this is the first time I've encountered something like this.
Military expert Pavlo Narozhny explained that by launching drones into Russian airspace, Ukraine is shutting down airport operations there and aims to weaken the Russian economy. And the enemy really does have problems with it. Enemy oil refineries can't cope with the sanctions. Enterprises are experiencing a serious crisis. Oil processing volumes have dropped to a minimum and supply issues could lead to economic collapse. More on all this in detail in the report. Coming up.
Russian oil refineries are on the verge of shutting down, experiencing an acute crisis.
There are directives, but they're not official. No one is arguing with them. These are objective facts.
Oil companies in the aggressor country are facing serious difficulties in repairing their plants. This is due to problems with the supply of equipment that has been under European sanctions since February 2022, according to the head of the Russian Ministry of Energy, Sergei Tsivilev.
The timelines for plant repairs are being pushed back because of delays and shortages of components. For example, if 4 months were originally planned for repairs, now, due to sanctions, this period is increasing, and these delays have to be compensated for.
Russian oil refineries were built and modernized with the participation of European and American companies, which provided the plants with technology and software. Today, there are about 40 of these largest plants.
Oil refineries require a lot of technological components, many of which, let's say, for many years before the start of the full-scale war were serviced by leading oil service companies in the world, most of which are based in the USA. There is a big four of these oil service companies which in fact set the terms. Let me make it clear. And with the start of the full-scale war, two problems arose at once, among others. The first was the withdrawal of these companies, which serviced Russian refineries and knew what to do. And the second, of course, is all these technological installations that were not produced in Russia. They were all imported.
In the 2000s, up to 80% of equipment for oil refining was supplied from abroad, and even during Soviet times, equipment for refineries was purchased in the West. The switch to domestic equipment never happened, despite the government's policy of import substitution.
Because of this inability to acquire the necessary equipment, and even when it is possible, this equipment becomes more expensive, Russia may face problems both in less significant areas and, most importantly, in its oil and gas sector.
Simply put, the oil-driven prosperity of the Russian Federation. Slowly but surely it is sinking to the bottom.
If you don't have the necessary parts, it's very difficult for you to organize the refining process. That is, when, for example, there are attacks on Russian oil refineries, many people say that what's important is not the pretty picture, because the pretty picture usually happens when a drone hits a storage tank. Yes, it explodes spectacularly, but technologically nothing is really damaged. But when a strike hits the cracking units or other technological equipment involved in processing crude oil into petroleum products, you won't get such a spectacular explosion, but it takes out the core of the oil refineries' operations.
Last year, the volume of oil refining at Russian refineries fell to a 12-year low. After a series of drone strikes disabled at least 10 of the largest plants, some were forced to remain idle for months.
Before Russia launched its full-scale war, its economy wasn't exactly perfect, but everyone understood that there were a few relationships that brought in money. As of today, essentially the fourth year of the full-scale war, it is already being said that the second most important sector after oil and gas, the metallurgical sector, is likely to halt production. So the question of when oil and gas will become the main sector, I think that's not some distant prospect. It's something that could happen by the end of this year or next year.
And the oil reserves in Russia are gradually being depleted, and production costs are rising. The Russian central bank has already warned Kremlin politicians about the threat of a collapse in the oil market, which would deal a blow to the economy.
There was already a precedent in September 2023, when, in order to optimize expenses, it was decided to reduce payments under the dumper program. What is the dumper? The dumper is a subsidy paid to fuel distributors for selling fuel within Russia instead of exporting it. In other words, they're compensated for the difference, and when the dumper payments were removed for a short period of time, the fuel prices shot up immediately. As happened in several regions of Russia, because the distributors decided to keep prices at higher levels. So in oil-rich, resource-rich Russia, it is very important that this money comes from the budget, so that there is some incentive for them to sell domestically. This is for the domestic market. And when there is no such incentive, problems arise, even in what seem to be the unshakable oil-rich, resource-rich regions.
The Russian budget depends on oil and gas revenues for a third of its income, and economic collapse will only be a matter of time.
Meanwhile, there are no major victories. At the moment, the Russians are also struggling at the front. The dictator is driving soldiers into meat grinder assaults and nurturing hopes of great achievements. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces are giving the occupiers a good thrashing on several sections of the front at once. Find out more about what is happening right now on the front lines in the following report.
First and foremost, we're talking about unmanned systems, electronic warfare complexes, as well as missile systems.
This drone has already laid more than 180 mines and has performed quite well. And, as you can see, it has returned. Among the other drones you've seen, there are kamikaze drones. Basically, it's universal, and the kamikaze drone delivers payloads, especially small ones.
According to the Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, such an influx of partners and the mass dispatch of equipment for testing will help Ukraine find solutions more quickly to fundamentally change the course of the war.
The armed conflict is currently in an acute phase, which gives corporations the opportunity to test their weapon systems in real combat conditions. Most of these technologies involve drones. This includes control systems, data processing, intelligence gathering, reconnaissance information, as well as means of recovery and counter-drone measures, mainly through electronic warfare means, but also using air defense systems.
At the same time, experts say the Testing Ukraine program not only allows for testing developments on the battlefield, but also helps to understand how Western weapons cope with countering a potential enemy. After all, Russia has been officially recognized at the NATO level as one of the main threats to the alliance.
This gives them, therefore, continuity, the significant opportunity to thoroughly test their new developments against the formidable Russian army, to meticulously study Russian defense systems, and to effectively adapt their own troops to counter the advanced technologies that Russia is currently using on the battlefield and, quite possibly, those that China may also utilize in the foreseeable future.
Participants in the program have the opportunity to test their developments not only at the front, but also deep in the rear of the Russian Federation when it comes to long-range weapons. This is also where counteraction to Russian models comes into play. Electronic warfare, the ability to identify targets using artificial intelligence, and directly the capability to destroy the required object.
Such capabilities exist. Currently, they are mainly implemented with the help of long-range drones. A wide variety of factories are being hit, critical for the military-industrial complex of the Russian Federation.
In addition, manufacturers will be able to test their products directly on site, that is, independently by coming to Ukraine. This will allow for real-time modification. There is also the option to entrust testing to Brave One specialists. In that case, the experts will conduct the testing themselves and provide partners with a detailed report on the results. And such work is already underway, particularly in the field of UAVs.
Many
of these drones, as far as I understand, are classified. For example, VBET as well as Vector, both are used for reconnaissance, surveillance, and data collection. This conflict is the perfect testing ground for weapons.
In an interview with Reuters, Brave One's head of investor relations, Artem Moroz, said that many companies have already shown interest in the program. Testing Ukraine, of course without details. So who and what exactly is going to be tested in Ukraine, Russia, we'll find out in real time.
How do you assess Russia's tactic of total destruction in the rear? Share your opinion in the comments, hit the like button under the video, and stay up to date with main news. There are almost 440,000 of us subscribers, and the number keeps growing. See you next time!